The state of the economy today is deeply worrying. The last quarter's GDP growth rate of 5% signals that we are in the midst of a prolonged slowdown. India has the potential to grow at a much faster rate, but all-round mismanagement by the Modi government has resulted in this slowdown. It is particularly distressing that the manufacturing sector's growth is tottering at 0.6%. This makes it very clear that our economy has not yet recovered from the man-made blunders of demonetization and a hastily implemented GST. Domestic demand is depressed and consumption growth is at an 18-month low. Nominal GDP growth is at 15-year low. There is a gaping hole in tax revenues. Tax buoyancy remains elusive as businessmen, small and big, are hounded and tax terrorism continues unabated. Investor sentiment are in doldrum. These are not the foundations for economic recovery. The Modi government's policies are resulted in massive jobless growth. More than 3.5 lakh jobs have been lost in the automobile sector alone. There will similarly be large-scale job losses in the informal sector, hurting our most vulnerable workers. Rural India is in terrible shape. Our farmers are not receiving adequate prices and rural incomes have declined. The low inflation rate that the Modi government likes to showcase comes at the cost of our farmers and their income by inflicting misery on over 50% of India's population. Institutions are under attack and their autonomy is being eroded. The resilience of the Reserve Bank will be tested after its record transfer of rupees 1.76 lakh crores to the government, which claims that it does not have a plan on what it will do with this windfall. In addition, the credibility of India's data has come under question under this government. Budget announcements and rollbacks have shaken the confidence of international investors. India has not been able to increase the exports to take advantage of opportunities that have arisen in global trade due to geopolitical realignment. Such is the state of economic management under the Modi government. Our youth, our farmers and our farm workers, entrepreneurs and the marginalized sections deserve better. India cannot afford to continue down this path. Therefore, I urge the government to put aside vendetta politics and reach out to all sane voices and thinking mind to steer our economy out of this man-made crisis.
Has Dr. Manmohan Singh saying instead of taking political vendetta, they should consult sane voices? Has he said that?
Yes, he has
said that? Political vendetta and consultation with the sane voices?
Yes,
I see. All right.
His statement,
All right, thank you. I'll take his statement on.
My answer?
No, that's my answer. You've asked me and I've said I'll take it.
First question. Are we witnessing an economic slowdown? Is the government of India acknowledging that there is an economic slowdown?
I'm meeting with industries and taking their inputs and industries' suggestions on what they would want and what they expect from the government of India. I'm responding to them. I've already done twice. I will do more number of times so that every industry which has approached me, I will respond. The purpose with which this meeting, together with the Revenue Secretary and also the Chairman of CBDT and also CBIC, is these meetings are being held all over the country, and this is the 6th such meeting that we are holding. Meeting where we are collectively addressing the tax administrators of income tax or the indirect taxes, the GST and others. The objective is to make sure that the message that tax enforcement authorities should function more as tax facilitators is the primary objective with which the message has got to be passed, and therefore that's the primary objective with which we are meeting with all these tax administrators. Essentially because we want to make sure that tax administrators function to enable small, medium, large industries in their compliance, tax compliance related matters. So as I said, this is the 6th place. In most of the destinations we are going to tier 2 towns, but in Tamil Nadu it was felt that Chennai would be a convenient place for all of them to come and assemble, because Pondicherry is also under the Tamil Nadu zone. So we've held it here. It was a very useful meeting in the morning. The performance of this area was also reviewed, and it was underlined that the targets given for collection, revenue generation, are not unrealistic, and therefore the authorities need not overstretch themselves, do any overreach which might lead to the taxpayer feeling that he is being harassed or unnecessary pressures being put on him. So that was the larger message. The performance of the area has been very good, particularly customs, the GST related, and also the income tax. All three of them have made special efforts to reach out to the assessees so that they can facilitate them to get their dues. Any refunds which have been pending are being helped so that they get it within the given time. And also for the income tax, they've gone into the premises of those who employ big numbers of people, just so that they can facilitate them to have easy compilation, and if they had any doubts they could explain it there and then. So the transition in the mindset of being a tax enforcement authority to moving to becoming a tax facilitating authority is already happening, and I can see it. The performance report which has been presented to us is very clearly suggestive of that. So that's where we are. First thing first, I've had the automobile industry also come and meet us during that week-long consultation that I held with different sectors. As a result of the consultation that I held with automobile, both the component manufacturers and also the automobile manufacturers, is a set of announcement that I've made in the first tranche of announcement that I came up with on August 23rd. And the measures were very clearly spelled out. And the inputs that I'm getting from the sector is that it can have a positive impact. So that is one thing. Over and above that, as and when I go, like today particularly, I'm meeting with the automobile sector in the afternoon, and some representatives were here already. As regards any suggestion or request coming on the GST rate cut business, it is not entirely in my hands. It has got to go to the GST Council, and the GST Council, where all the state finance ministers assemble, it is for them to take a call. I have suggested to them that I'll take it to the GST Council, but the final decision will be theirs. So that is one thing said. Second, from the central government side, we have already very clearly said that the depreciation rate, which is at the moment existing at 15%, this year we will increase it by another 15%, so the total will be 30% for depreciation. So that's also been already mentioned. Other than that, the BS4 to BS6 vehicle and the inventory which is getting piled up, we have very clearly said everything will benefit by the depreciation that we've announced, and there shall not be a confusion on the basis of Government of India looking at promoting EVs. We want all vehicles to have their due market share. It's not as if we are pushing one at the cost of the others. All this has been explained, but specifically on the GST, I'll wait for the Council to take a call. While I take your point that wherever there is a need for government to come up with facilitation and support, we are willing to hear those sectors and respond to them. And I'm not of the view that just the automobile sector, but every sector which needs to have a consultation with us, we have welcomed them. We are all years we are hearing them, we are responding to them. After hearing them, we are also responding. And that is why even in my first tranche of announcements, I even on that very day said I will come with more, because the continuation of consultation is an ongoing process with some of the other sectors too. So even for them, we shall be coming and responding. But however, the data on jobs in India, even as much as was collected till before the government came in 2014, till before the government has come back again in 2019, have all concentrated on the formal sector only. And that is something which I'm not stating today. Everyone who deals with data, with statistics knows that. So, India informal sector employment has not been appropriately or exhaustively documented. We should also keep that in mind while we're talking about sectors where every sector is suffering. There are also informal sector in which jobs have also not been calculated or documented. I'm conscious of both formal and informal. The data collection on that is what I'm talking about. And I'm sure the measures are being taken by the concerned Data Collection, Statistics and Program Implementation Ministry. But I'm only taking this opportunity to highlight the fact that when we are referring to data from the government, like the NSSO that you referred to, talk only about the formal sector and not at all about the informal. And in India, the nature of our economy being what it is, in the informal structure, in the informal sector is where majority of our employment is. And there, if there is stress or anything, I'm willing to hear those respective sectors, is what I want to convey to you. You're saying whether or not the government recognizes, what question are you asking me then?
Whether this is a slowdown, are we recognizing
But
this?
you yourself are saying whether or not government recognizes or not recognizes. So are you asking me a question, or are you commenting on it?
I'm not commenting on it. I'm asking.
But you did say that, didn't you?
I did not.
You just said something to that effect. Or did I hear you wrong?
No,
Sorry
I did
about
not.
That.
I did not.
So what's your question?
My question is whether the government recognizes the current economic status as a slowdown.
The government has been in consultation with a lot of sectors which wanted to come and speak to us about the various measures that they expect, because in some sectors the inventory is piling up and so on, and different issues for different sectors. And having heard them and having spent some time to see how best we can respond, the first tranche of announcements were made on 23rd. Last Friday I have made one other set of announcements. So I've also said I'll come back again as and when the process of consultation are over and we have worked on how we can respond. So I will be coming back to respond to sectors which have spoken to us and which want some relief from us. On the first one, when will the impact of the announcements that we have made? See, even in the budget, we had announced certain things. Like, for instance, giving the 70,000 crores for the bank capitalization. That's already, I'm showing you very clear milestone after that announcement to say how and through what kind of channel that would take its shape. So I expect that to start flowing already. Over and above that, in the budget again, we did say that we will take care of the liquidity-related crisis of the NBFC-related issue. The NBFC-related issue was not just liquidity, because it had governance issues, it had solvency issues, it had NBFCs which had borrowed heavily short-term and were lending long-term. And then, therefore, they had this problem of cyclical financial, gaps or voids which were coming up. So, in order to address that, we came up with this liquidity window, and also made sure that the first 10% will have stopgap in the sense sovereign guarantee given for the loss, first 10% loss. Even that has been notified by the RBI. And I know, as I was announcing an amalgamation of banks yesterday, last Friday, at least 4 NBFCs have come out because of that relief which has been offered. Of course, there are several NBFCs in this country, but not all NBFCs are undergoing similar problems. One, liquidity is not a problem for all of them. Each one has different kind of problem. So already the steps announced in the budget are seeing ground level changes in that the NBFCs have already started receiving liquidity, bank capitalization has already seen the amalgamation happening, and the co-origination, which is one of the linked announcement where banks have the liquidity, but NBFCs have the spread. Both of them together can work for any particular lending that they want to do. So the banks are not going to be sitting with liquidity saying, I don't know who to lend. NBFCs are not going to say, I have people, but I don't know where to get the money. We brought in this co-origination. So a lot of such steps which can have an immediate impact on the ground have already been worked. You are also in the field. You may be able to see what kind of impact it's creating. I'm sure we'll benefit from all the information you can share, we can share, and the industry can share.